What's up, y'all? It's Yungavelle back at it with another video. I'm here with my boy Nad Pitt. This is one of my soul brothers, one of my close bros that I've met down here in South Florida for more than one reason. He's definitely on the path, on the spiritual path, on the retention path, on the manifestation path. We got music together as well that you're gonna hear, so he's not just any old guest. He's one of them ones. So today I wanted to talk about a couple things, but one of those main things is the difference between successful and unsuccessful people. So I'm about to talk to you. So what were you about to tell me?
I was talking about this principle, this concept that I received from Seven Bomar. A really big part about like the ebb and flow of like receiving goals and failing at them. It's like just being in a perfect student state of mind to like receive the information. So Seven Bomar is this character in Costa Rica, and he was just talking about the pendulum effect. Now, if you don't know what a pendulum is something that you hang from a string and it just goes back and forth, back and forth. So he was describing the thing that you want to attain for the sake of conversation, the goal. Don't bring it close to your face, because the moment because you're eventually gonna let go. Holding it that close, like it's inevitable that it's gonna fall apart. If you bring it so close and you like cling on to it, the more you cling on to it, the harder you do. When you let it go,
It's gonna swing further away from you.
and that's where the gutter is, right? But on that opposite spectrum, like that gutter is like you don't want to get stuck there. So you want to find yourself in a flow state to where you can ebb and flow with receiving and loss, life and death.
So that's the reason that he brings that up, is because one of the main differences, there's one main difference between successful people and unsuccessful people, and it's one word: goals. That's the only thing that, well, I won't say that's the only thing, but that's the main thing that separates a person that gets to where they're going from a person that doesn't get to where they're going. And the reason that he brings up the pendulum is because throughout the path of you getting towards your goals, there are going to be ups and downs, and it's important that you don't get carried away when you have the little victories, when you do achieve your short-term or long-term goals. You don't get carried away in those victories, because there's going to be a dip. So it's very important that you remain steady in both happiness and distress. I go back to that Vedic verse all the time because it's so relevant, where in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna was talking to Arjuna. I highly recommend the Bhagavad Gita, and he was like, remain steady in both happiness, or a soul who can remain steady in both happiness and distress, that soul is surely eligible for liberation, because you don't get caught in the transitory effects of the process of attaining your goals, right? And another thing that I wanted to touch on is the element of, throughout that process, before you even get to the little victories, there are going to be things that come across your path that may feel like it jerks you out of alignment, things that are of uncertainty and stuff like that, losses and all that stuff. Before you get to the little victory, it's important that you have this thing that I call the element of good faith. It's important for you to move in good faith when you're having those moments of loss or the dips down, because when you keep steady and you move with an element of good faith towards your goal, it's going to help you not feel so heavy when that loss comes or when that dip comes, you know? And that's an interesting point that you made, where with the pendulum, like the closer that you hold it to you, just understand that when you let it go, it's gonna swing that much further away. So you might as well just let the thing do what it's gonna do. A thing is gonna do what it's gonna do. Like Shakespeare said, a thing is not good or bad, it is only thinking that makes it so. So yeah, What another thing that I wanted to touch on as well is because we're talking about the difference between successful and unsuccessful people at the end of the day. Goals, direction. You have to have some sort of direction. And you take a ship, this is a very basic example, but a ship that has a direction and knows where it's going, has a destination, 99.9% of the time, it's going to get to its destination when it leaves the harbor, as opposed to a ship that's just set out on the water and it has nobody driving, nobody guiding. It is most likely not even going to make it out of the harbor. It's just going to get carried away by the waves. So it's important for you to have a goal. You got something you want to say?
Yeah. No, I'm just over here in deep thought because as the viewers watching, you'll be hearing Brother TJ, and it's just start clicking in your brain different inspirations on how to download this knowledge for yourself.
Right. How it's relevant for you.
So when you talk about the ship and the direction, I think about the full moon, I think about the tides, I think about community. And I think direction is such a great word in the 21st century. But when we dissect it, I think in that direction, we have to be very direct with our community that we surround ourselves around. We have to be very direct with the food that we're consuming. And it's not only the food that is physically being embedded in our DNA by consumption, but it's also the food that our ears eat. It's also the food that our eyes eat. And it's also the food that our pleasures eat, because all aspects of ourselves, physical and non, have to get fed. So a lot of times, especially in the masculine arena, we can direct a lot of our energy towards a specific goal without taking care of the non-specifics. And the non-specifics is making sure that ship is well maintained.
That's such a great point.
You got to make sure that if you're doing business with high level thinking people, that your ship looks like a high level thinking ship. So you got to think about the presentation. You have to think about the timing. You may have all the right intentions, but it may be the inappropriate timing. The reason why there's the spiritual idealisms behind the new moon and the full moon is because back in the day, without the navigation of the GPS and the technology that we have access to today, sailors were privy to the fact that if you sailed out on a new moon, there are higher chances of survival versus going on a full moon where the tides are crazy. So directions, having direction, having insight, and really trusting the process, like 360, moving in good faith, traveling in good faith. And to be honest, we're all in this together. Even those of you, just like myself, the people that we look up to, we look up to them because we see ourselves in them. But we cannot omit that if we see ourselves in them, that they also have their own trials and tribulations to get through. So we're all collectively going through the same thing. So
that's so many great points in that. And I wanted to bring up just keep it close for the mic. I also wanted to bring up a point as well when it comes to reaching your goals and more so attracting your goals, because there is a physical element to striving towards your goal, but you cannot underestimate the quality of beingness. You have to, we hear it time and time again, one of the best things that you could do to manifest is behave as if it's already so. Let me give you a good example. This weekend, last night, I was thinking like that. If I had 6 figures in my bank, which I fully intend to have, I already do have, and be a multimillionaire, what would I be doing this weekend? What would I want to do? And what I wanted to do was hit up a beautiful woman and come to my local kava spot and just chill and vibe. And I did that from that space, because being feeling as if you're already there, that's a different person than the employee you is different than the entrepreneur you. So it's very important that you behave as if you are that person already. What does that person look like? What does that version of you think like? What does that version of you, what do they do? What do they believe? What do they feel? What do they believe to be true? Do they believe that they are victorious? Are they successful? And for me, it's like, yes, they are. And you hear it time and time again. A man becomes what he thinks about. A man becomes what he thinks about most. So it's imperative that you shift yourself when you're trying to manifest something, especially when in terms of financial freedom, which a lot of us are moving towards. You shift yourself and your mindset into, what does that version of me that has achieved that look like? What are they doing? How are they thinking? What are they thinking about? What are they doing? How are they moving? And it could be as little as, what are you going to do for the weekend? You know, to the best of your ability, you move that way. And I had a job, like I got hired for a new job, and I'm not thinking about it as going into, because I'm also a business owner, I'm not thinking about it as I'm going into another 9 to 5. I'm looking at it as I'm increasing my income. That's a totally different, the employee you is different than the entrepreneur you. So they're two totally different people. So those are a couple of the points that I wanted to share with you guys. You got anything you want to add?
I just wanted to add, just to like note take. We talked about goal setting. We talked about direction being more than just a direction to the goal, but something that's all around encompassing. We talked about good faith. We also talked about correct state of mind, because what you think is what you will manifest into self. And also, we talked about some occult knowledge. That occult knowledge being to ritualize your mentality, meaning ritualize riches, to live very richly in the ashe that is, meaning if you see yourself in a Rolls Royce, every time you hop into your Corolla, envision that, feel that, live that. If you have a certain lifestyle goal that like leads to a certain, embody those cultures, you know?
Well guys, like I always say, if you got something from this video, be sure to share it, like it, comment, and subscribe. If y'all ever in South Florida, come check this place out, man. It's in Hollywood, Florida. So y'all keep going, keep striving. Check out my boy Nad Pitt on Instagram and on all social media platforms. I'll put his link, his info in the description. Like I always say, guys, remember, until next time, a greater perspective can lead to a greater connection. Peace.
Rise and jackpot.